Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale, but live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond this evening. Ghana Mine Workers Union expresses grave concern over government's ability to finance operations of the Daman mine following announcement of a takeover from Goldfields company. Analysts say government must tread cautiously. Well, there's a breaking news coming through which we're keeping an eye on as well. Some 219 ECOWAS nationals have just been rescued by the Economic and Organized Crime Officers EOCO from a human trafficking ring, basically made up of some Nigerians. We've got details for you. Stay with us here on Hot Edition. We'll tell you more about it. Also, Global Info Analytics CEO Musa Dankwa explains why key figures behind MPP's defeat in 2024 elections were captured in his latest poll. Plus, also the details of the poll on what Ghanaians think about the petitions to remove the current Chief Justice. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. On the continent, we'll get details of as well of the upcoming meeting of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to also deliberate on the 50th anniversary and how measures are being put in place to address the Sahel region's concerns and the breakaway nations as well. Stay with us. We are also live on 3FM 92.7 on Facebook. You can connect with us, share your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions on the issues we're going to be talking about here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also keeping an eye on a water shortage situation in the parts of the northern region. We'll touch base with our correspondent there. For now, let's settle for a summary of the news. Enyonam Haliga is here.
In today's summary, the Ghana Mine Workers Union is calling for a joint venture between the government and Goldfields for the Damang mine rather than a full government takeover. Well, according to the union, the state may lack the capital needed to properly invest into the mine, potentially hindering its growth and expansion. President John Mahama has invited the military leaders of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger to attend the launch of the ECOWAS 50th anniversary celebration in Accra on April 22, 2025. Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa described the move as an effort to promote reconciliation and regional cooperation. The New Patriotic Party has resolved to revise its constitution following a review of its 2024 electoral defeat. The decision, announced after an emergency NEC meeting on April 16, follows findings submitted by the Okwe Committee, which investigated the party's loss of presidency and 50 parliamentary seats. A new 9-member committee will lead the constitutional review process. Now, 42 suspects have been arrested for drug peddling and prostitution in the Iron Free in the central region during a police crackdown on criminal activities. The operation, led by DCOP Abraham Akwe, targeted brothels and ghettos identified as high-risk zones. And before I go, a joint intelligence-led operation by EOCO and the CID and the military has uncovered a trafficking scheme involving 219 individuals brought into Ghana from across the West African sub-region under the pretense of offering lucrative jobs. Now, investigations are currently underway to identify the perpetrators, while screening of the victims is ongoing.
Appreciate you for this, and thank you so much. There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Keep your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions coming through right out to you and to the rest of the world. Let's go straight to the offices of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO. We're keeping an eye on this breaking news that came through not too long ago. The story that we're learning now is that it has emerged that some 219 individuals from across the West African sub-region were trafficked into Ghana to be provided, or were promised to be provided, lucrative jobs. Now, this follows an intelligence-led operation between the Economic and Organized Crime Office unit, that's EOCO, the Criminal Investigation Department, and the Ghana Police Service and the military. Currently, investigations are ongoing into the team behind the trafficking while screening of these trafficked persons is currently ongoing as well. Abdul Bashiru Dapila is the acting executive director of ECOWAS. He addressed the media a while ago.
Of the operation, the planning and everything, our counterpart with the CID, we had met at National Security, we planned together, we executed the exercise together. Indeed, going forward, the Economic and Organized Crime Office and that of the CID, we have mapped out strategies that the two of us, that is the CID and then ECOWAS, we should work more closely than before. And then this is just the beginning of one of the steps or one of the projects that we have embarked together. As we speak now, maybe Madam Lydia will talk about it. Similar operations are taking place somewhere, but we are trying to unite or join the operations together for one purpose so that we can join resources, do a thorough investigations, and then share resources to reconnect the victims with their relatives. The operation was successfully, and 219 people were arrested at Kunsak Estates in Oyerifa. The suspects were lured into the country, the victims were lured into the country by the suspects ostensibly to give them lucrative jobs in Ghana. Unfortunately, when they came to Ghana, since there are no lucrative job existing, then they took them hostages and then they confined them at the Oyerifa estates, and then they were forced to go into cyber crimes and cyber crime related activities. A number of laptops, personal effects, internet facilities, food stuff, and other things were retrieved from them. Together with the Ghana Police Service and then the Army, they were brought to the Economic and Organized Crime Office, and then we have subjected them to some screening. The essence of the screening is to separate the victims from the suspects, to even separate the juveniles from the adults. And then we also want to know what type of criminal activities they are involved in. And whilst the screening was going on, the Nigerian High Commission visited us, and then he met with the victims and the suspects, and then he admonished them to cooperate with the office. At the moment, the screening is still going on, and then we are thinking that come what may, by tomorrow, we should be able to complete with the screening, and then bearing in unforeseen circumstances, it should be possible for us to link or maybe make arrangements to send the victims back to Nigeria to connect with their relatives. I think for purposes of the operation, the planning and everything, our counterpart with the CID, we had met at National Security, we planned together, we executed the exercise together. Indeed, going forward, the Economic and Organized Crime Office and that of the CID, we have mapped out strategies that the two of us, that is the CID and then ECOWAS, we should work more closely than before. And then this is just the beginning of one of the steps or one of the projects that we have embarked together. As we speak now, maybe Madam Lydia will talk about.
Well, so that's the Abdul Bashiru Dapila there is the acting executive director of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, ECOWAS. Now, my colleague Eric Mauna sat through this press briefing that ended a few minutes ago. Is joining us on the telephone from the offices of the ECOWAS. Mauna, beyond this suspected trafficking of these persons to engage in cybercrime, which other crimes is ECOWAS also looking into possibly that these persons were trafficked to do?
There's a mention of prostitution, but that's not been properly defined because there were quite a number of females who were part of it. And so for now, what we understand is that the screening, which is a major part to allow for a determination of really what's happening with these individuals is ongoing. And so that's what we know. But majorly, they were being used for cybercrime related activities, internet fraud, amongst many other things. In fact, I engaged one of the victims who says that was being used for internet fraud and wasn't getting food, was being fed once a day. After eating once a day, for 1 year, he saw seen sunlight, and he had to always be indoors once a day, amongst many other things. In fact, when you get close to them from afar, you could tell that these were individuals who were not getting access to baths to even start off with, amongst many other things. And so the crime majorly cyber related, but there's a fear that prostitution is involved with the 7 or so women who were part of the gang who were brought in this morning from Oyarifa, Alfred.
I see. How long have they been in Ghana? Any indication of that answer being provided?
Different durations for the specific set of individuals. This one individual I spoke to, 1 year. There were minors as well, and so it cuts across different times how long they've been here. But the most I got the sense of was a year ago from the one individual I engaged, and the additional detail is that they are aware of such scams being run. In fact, the Director General in charge of CID, she, off the cuff, in an interaction with me, mentioned that even this morning, police officials had stopped a similar movement of Nigerians who were headed into the country, and they've arrested the said culprits. They are bringing the other related individuals or the victims to immigration tomorrow for screening and then onward processing and a return to Nigeria, amongst many other things. We understand as well that the Nigerian High Commissioner to Ghana has made his way to Yoko's premises as well to ascertain for himself really what was happening, and urging the young people not to be dissuaded with the promise of jobs in Ghana, only to end up being in such inhumane conditions, amongst many other things. And so it looks like the operation is ongoing from far and wide. Different interagency operations currently happening. They are seeking to strengthen that a lot more. Alfred, on social media as well, there's been this conversation surrounding QNet, where we've seen quite a number of these big social media accounts alleging Ghanaians who've been moved from West Africa, from here in Ghana to Ivory Coast with the promise of jobs in Spain, amongst many other things. Yoko says they've got wind of that, some of whom they got details of back into Ghana from Ivory Coast, and they are following up on any of such leads subsequently as well to end the trafficking of West African nationals here into Ghana to engage in cyber-related activities.
I see. Now, but how about the nationals of these trafficked persons, 219 of them? Are they mainly Nigerians, or Yoko did identify other West African nationals apart from Nigerians?
They identified other nationals. The difficulty thus far, based on what we've been told, is that even when they suspect they've identified a different national, the language barrier has proven quite difficult, because it appears these individuals are not quite educated, a number of them from these other places. For the Nigerians, the use of English as a broken English makes it quite easy to be able to identify and speak to them. And so they've been able to identify a number of them. A chunk of them actually are Nigerians, but they have the suspicion, based on ongoing screening as well, that these are nationals from elsewhere as well, Alfred.
I see. And any indication of when exactly they got wind of this particular operation, or of this syndicate, or this ring of human traffickers?
Well, I asked that question as to whether or not this was a lead that was followed up from social media and the recent conversations. What we were told was that this has been an interagency collaboration which has been ongoing for quite a while. As to the specific duration, we were not given those details, because they say they are pursuing other leads as well. But what we understand is that these investigations have started or may have started within the last 4 months since this acting director general and then the new CID boss as well began operating together, and within the short space of time they've been able to track this first ring. They say they've rescued some others from elsewhere, like we mentioned, in Cape Coast, where they are bringing them to Ghana, to Accra tomorrow for screening as well. And so it looks like there's the identification of what's happening, but as to how long, we can only estimate within the last 4 months, Alfred.
Great detail there, Mauna. Appreciate you for this. And Eric Mauna Bata is my colleague, sat through the ECOWAS press conference, which ended just a few minutes ago. Dr. Victor Doke is a security analyst and a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. He has written quite extensively about this human trafficking syndicates and also the operations in the sub-region. Is joining us right now. Dr. Doke, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
I mean, this appears to be a major breakthrough, is it not, in tracking down human trafficking in this country. 219 individuals, victims, and according to Mauna, some of them are minors as well, under the age of 12, all in there as well, brought in specifically to carry out cybercrime activities, and ECOWAS suspects prostitution as well. How does all of this get to you?
Well, yeah, it's worrying, first of all. Now, it's been noted that countries in West Africa have most victims being trafficked than other states in the sub-region. So, out of 4,799 victims in all of trafficked persons in 26 African states, a total of about 3,336 have been found to be in West Africa. And this figure includes 2,553 being children alone. So the issue is very worrying. Now, for various reasons, they are being trafficked, i.e., as you mentioned, cybercrime activities, prostitution, and whatnot. So it begs to ask the question, what our border management, border control system is doing, and especially when you look at the broader picture of how we are supposed to the ECOWAS region is supposed to ensure free transportation and movement of people, then these children find their way somehow in jurisdictions they are not supposed to be in for illegal activities such as these. Then we need to get back to, those protocols, the ECOWAS plan of action to combat trafficking of persons. We need to relook at all these protocols and then restructure to ensure that these minors do not find their ways into other countries for illegal activities.
I see, but you hear ECOWAS, they talk about a collaborative efforts that now you hear the executive director say we're going to be seeing a lot more of the collaboration between ECOWAS, CID, and the military in clamping down these human or child trafficking rings operating in this country, to the extent that they have been trafficking these children and teenagers, we understand, at the least over the last 1 year. Some of them have been here more than a year. Where should the investigation be looking at, especially because of the time frame and how long these persons have been here, as we're learning now?
It will be very difficult. Now, one of the ways we can, channel the investigations is to get the main ringleaders. Now, these minors will likely give information, but you may have a challenge with regards to the right information that will be given, first of all. Because now you need to even process they themselves as individuals, first of all, before even getting to know who the ringleaders are. For collaboration, yes, we need it at this critical moment with regards to the security agencies coming together. Now, these are just peripherals, that I put it that way, because these people are only doing the bidding of others who are camping somewhere. The location might be difficult at this point. But if the security agencies are very, very proactive enough to get information, then they will act on it. But by and large, they will have some challenges regards to even information coming up, because then these minors, these people have sworn some sort of allegiance not to vouch information, that would even help them in the long run. But I think then the security agencies must push harder to get information to arrest, the ringleaders and the cartel behind this, illegal activity.
Now, there's also that bit, as we're saying now, of the kind of crimes that they are brought in to do. That's specifically, according to ECOWAS, cyber crime, and they are camped in an estate. On Oyarifa, we're learning now, and the number of them say they haven't even seen daylight for almost a year. Knowing how these human trafficking or child trafficking syndicates operate, does this give you any indication of how the security agencies should clamp down on the modus operandi?
Yes, because then now you would have this very, very common, because I've even come face to face with young guys in a building, and you wonder what they are actually doing, because the kind of activities in there and the way they were behaving and all that, it just brought my mind to suspicion. But then if we are looking at this holistically, then it means that one, we need to look at our border system. Information about these individuals that come in. Do they have the legal documents to even stay in the country for a period of time? It means that we need to look at all those things. Now, how can we get information as to activities such as this? Sensitization, education of the people, we ourselves, so that if a landlord gives us his room or a house for rent, then he gets the requisite information about who is coming in to live there. So if you have, a group of young guys in there with suspicious activities, you have gathered some evidence that they are into illegality, then you can inform the authorities, and then they can pick them up. But this is what we have been seeing for some time now, and it's become like part and parcel of our lives, because we see something, we don't really pay attention to it, and then try to inform the authorities for them to act on it. But I think going forward, I think we need a sense of urgency with regards to what actually we term as illegalities, and then draw in the people. We need the involvement of the people themselves in, so that they can monitor by and large. Because then if you are drawing the people in, trust me, you have everything going on in the community that would willingly offer information for you to act on an arrest.
And it's a very important point to make about the role of the landlords or the owners of houses who rent to these people. Because if you have this number of persons, and this is in a gated community, because it's an estate where there's over 219, we understand 219 individuals were kept. What is the responsibility in this instance, not just of the owner, but also some of these gated community owners, estate developers, in collaborating in the fight against this human trafficking?
The issue is that some only look at the benefits, the monetary aspects that comes with, having your property rented out. But then they don't look at the long-term effects such as this. Now, if we have situations like that, it means we have to look at regulations, the laws, how you give out, houses or rooms to people. And trust me, now, wherever these young men were picked up from, when you extensively interrogate those who are living in the vicinity, they will tell you that they suspected and knew. But how and why didn't they come out with information is another issue. For the landlords, it's just individuals. Now, you can pick them up and then interrogate them also, because then they are aiding and abetting. Because if your property is being used for illegal activities, you are also party to that crime. So I think with regards to this, we have to invite the landlords, wherever they are, for them to answer questions. And then going forward, that's what I said, we need to carry the people along, sensitize them that this is a crime, giving out your property to a group of people for what? Illegal activities and illegal, trades. I think this is just the way forward for us now.
In this case, so ignorance of the activities of whoever is renting your house is not an excuse, because some of them will come in as individuals. I mean, if the landlords put up this argument, would they be shielded by the law that these persons came in as individuals and they didn't really follow up to know, for instance, what's happening in their facilities? If they've rented it for 2 years, well, that's it. What's the burden of the landlord?
There's a lot of burden on the landlord, because then you as a citizen, you are hosting, even a national who can be engaged in this illegality, let alone a foreigner. Okay? Now, you're talking about foreigners who have been trafficked from other jurisdictions into the country and then in your house. So how do you expect the law enforcers to identify or to ascertain that you were not party to it? You just have to provide evidence in this case. And the evidence will show whether if you knew or did not know, because then you have people also coming in individually saying they want the property and then end up bringing these young guys. Those are the middlemen, the kingpins, okay? So every, property owner should now be very much aware and proactive in taking more information and details about whoever even wants to come, to live in your property. So if you would know that in certain areas, now landlords have just taken it upon themselves that if you are an ECOWAS national from other jurisdictions, they do not rent their properties to you. I don't want to mention names, but I have to be careful. When you are from other, regions, other ECOWAS states, West African countries, they hardly rent their properties to you because of the perception they have that you may likely not take care of the property or use it for illegal activities.
Hold on a bit for me, Dr. Doke, because we've also just gotten some news from this time around from the Central Region. It's information just coming through right now, and it's also in this same tangent that we're talking about. If you're just joining us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, ECO, have just addressed the press, giving details of some 219 individuals, mostly Nigerians, who have been trafficked into Ghana, promised lucrative jobs, but ended up being used for all forms of criminal activity, specifically cybercrime. Now, this follows the intelligence-led operation between EOCO and the CID of the Ghana Police Service. The military as well complemented the efforts. Currently, we understand investigations are ongoing into the team behind the trafficking, while screening is ongoing. The news that's coming through from the Central Region is that 42 suspects have been arrested in connection with drug peddling and prostitution at Ayamfuri in the Upper Daintra West District of the Central Region as part of special operations to clamp down on criminal activity by the Central North Regional Police Command. And this is what we got from there. This is the DCOP Abraham Akwe speaking to the media.
Between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m., we conducted an intelligence-led swoop to some of the criminogenic areas in our area of responsibility, specifically at Ayamfuri. We went to 2 different ghettos and protests where these arrested suspects were found in various acts, including what I've said, the prostitution and then drug peddling. Our community members have been complaining bitterly about some of the activities of these people. So we as a command decided to wage war against such criminal acts. And you also recall that the task force has been established to fight organized crime, including illegal mining and such acts, as you have already seen. So basically, it was an intelligence-led swoop that led to the arrest of these 42 suspects. 10 of them are Ghanaians, the males are Ghanaians, and then the 32 are foreign nationals. Yes, I don't want to name the country, but they are not Ghanaians. They are from other country indulging in this illegal activity in our area of responsibility. Yes, it is presumed that they are involved in drug and human trafficking. You want to believe that they were trafficked into the country by their agents. Yes, but some of them are a bit tight-lipped on the activities of their agents, but a few of them admitted that they were brought in by their principals or agents who use them for such activities.
So that's DCOP Abraham Akrofi, who heads the Northern Central Regional Police Command. Akwesiado was with the team every step of the way and sat through this press briefing by the Central Northern Regional Police Command in the Central Region. Is joining us, our Central Regional correspondent Akwesi. Now, the DCOP declined or did not give details of the nationals involved, at least, but he says there are 10 Ghanaian male involved in the 44 that they have arrested, 42 they have arrested today. Now, tell us, when you got in there and the intelligence that you got, how many of these 42 are female?
32 are female. And even though the Central North Regional Police Commander, DCOP Abraham Akrofi, decided not to mention the nationality, Alfred, I can confidently mention that most of these arrested persons, the females, are Nigerians. Because for me personally, I expected this kind of action to be taken because somewhere around last week, I spent about 2 nights in Ayanfure trying to work on illegal mining activities and also its related illicit activities. And I came across some of these persons, and when you interact with them, you speak to them, they confidently tell you that, look, this is where we are coming from. And they would mention to you that someone actually had lured them that there are high incentive jobs here in the country, and so that is what they were bringing them for. But when they arrived, they coerced them into engaging in prostitution. And so we expected this kind of action to be taken by police and law, because this action has already occurred. And so we are expecting that from then on, the Ghana Immigration Service would take over from the police service and then also work to ensure that they are able to deal with some of these things. Because in Ayanfure and places like Dunkaonofe and then so in those enclaves, that is the Upper Dentra, East and West districts, you get to meet this kind of persons. And while the females are mostly engaged in prostitution, the males are engaged in illegal mining, some of them in other criminal activities like robbery and the likes.
I see. Now, you talk about robbery and the other study are involved in, and which specific area exactly were these persons arrested? So,
for this particular exercise, these persons were arrested in Ayanfure. So there are some brothels just at the opposite of the Ayanfure Senior High School, which is located at the outskirts of the Ayanfure Township. So that is where the police conducted the sweep and had these persons arrested. And even though this is a very commendable exercise, but I should say that there are several other brothels that exist.
How all of this is coming together for you, especially with what the ECOWAS has just put out, these 219 persons, most of them Nigerians, and what's happening in the Central Region as well?
Well, I should say, let me commend the officers and state institutions for, clamping down on illegalities. Now, when we had the commander speaking, he said this was an intelligence-led operation, and this ties to the earlier comment that I made that one. We need the involvement of the citizens themselves so that they can volunteer information. It's part of intelligence. Now, all this means that as a whole, as a country, how do we ensure that we manage our borders well so that when these young people are coming in, we can raise questions, fundamental questions also. what they are coming to do here. Because most of them come in alone. Or even if they come in with their, middlemen or campaigns or whatever, there's some sort of further details we do. But unfortunately, we don't have that time. We don't have that operational capacity to do that. Now, it all ties to the unemployment we're facing, not only in Ghana, but across, the African continent. It's getting worse and worse, okay? And these issues are what is going to be with us if we don't curb it. Now, education is very important for the people, inhabitants. So if we see something, then we have to inform the appropriate agencies to act on it. And I've already mentioned it, but then it means we need more investment in the area of how we can, control our borders, because as it is now, it means there's inadequate border control, which leads to illegalities like what we are seeing now. We need to enhance our safety, measures, foster, collaboration with our neighboring, countries where mostly these people are coming from, and try to get the authorities there to know what exactly is going on. Because then we can't say we have the protocol of free movement for citizens to come and visit anytime, but then we are not tracking them. How do we ensure we track all these people coming in? Because I'm sure they came through our borders, they have the documents, and then they went through it. You are required to stay in a number of days. Whether they last or not. How do they, overstay? Some go and come back. If you are not even able to detect that a person is using multiple names, the facial recognition is always something that is constant. How do we ensure that we bring in mechanisms that would detect people who are entering multiple times, and then also track them to know what activities they are engaged in? So it's a tough call, but I think this is the first step. How do we even move from here? Repatriation, and then monitor for these same people not to enter back into the country is another thing.
Indeed. Dr. Victor, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. He is a senior lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, security analyst as well. Kwesiado is our Central Regional correspondent. He joined us earlier. It's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM, also on Kesmi 107.1 and on W93.5 in Wide Beyond. A recent poll conducted by Global Info Analytics has revealed that majority of Ghanaians are in favor of Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Saki Tukono's removal. According to the findings, 52% of voters support her removal, while only 20% oppose it. Additionally, 18% of respondents were neutral. We also gotten to know that 10% of the persons expressed no opinion. The poll indicates that a significant proportion of voters from most regions, excluding Ahafo and Upper East, are in favor of the Chief Justice removal. Exactly how did Musa Dankwa go about this particular poll, the latest coming through? This is what he had to say.
Interview that was conducted between the 7th April and today, in fact. We interviewed 2,545 voters from all the 16 regions randomly.
2,545?
Yes.
In a telephone poll. And
yes.
What was the question to them?
And we asked them if they support the move to remove the Chief Justice from office. And the answers were strongly support, somehow support, strongly oppose, somehow oppose, neutral, and I don't have an opinion.
I see. And what was the outcome?
The outcome is that 52% of Ghanaian voters support the removal of the Chief Justice. And only 20% oppose it. 10% do not have an opinion, and around 18% were neutral.
So that's what we have on the screen there. You said 52% of the 2,545 of this telephone poll respondents support the removal of the Chief Justice. 18% say, well, they don't have a position on it. 20% oppose, and 10% also are in there as well. But is this a nationally representative poll, the 2,545? Is it across all 16 regions?
Yes, across all the 16 regions.
And in all 276 constituencies?
No, this is a national base, so randomly called numbers from the regions. So samples were assigned to each region, and each region's quota were assigned from all the constituencies. So randomly, whatever number that we are able to get in regional quota, we did that.
I see right. I see the regional breakdown that you gave in the poll as well. Western North region appears to be having the highest in terms of the regional breakdown. 82% of the respondents there. Any reason why?
No, we don't know. These are just random polls. If you look at those regions that are supporting her removal very strongly, you have Western North 82%, Volta region 76%, Savannah 66%, OT 70%, Greater Accra 58%, Central region 51%, Bono East 72%, Bono 82%. So these are the regions with over 50% support for her removal.
I see, and that straight question to them, whether they want her removed or not, is what you pose to them. There were no follow-up questions as with the responses they gave?
No, there was another question which we haven't published full detail yet. We asked them if she is found to have broken the law. For those who said they oppose and neutral or they have no opinion, we asked them a further question, whether if she is found to have broken the law, would they support her removal? That detail will be released tomorrow, God willing. But it is also, we're fairly divided for those who didn't support the initial process.
I see. But I see another bar graph that represents their party affiliation. So that's a question you ask them as well, as whether they belong to MPP or NDC.
At the end of the survey, we asked them which party they normally vote for. And the response shows that for those who say they are NPP, 16% support the removal, 46% oppose it. For those who say they are NDC, 83% support the removal, but 3% oppose it. And for those who are floating voters, 46% support and 13% oppose. And those who support other smaller parties, 37% support and 9% oppose. And for those who don't disclose their party affiliation, 34% support and 18% oppose.
Okay, so just for the benefit of our viewers, they read it out of your poll. Okay. Finding it just for the attempt to remove the Chief Justice. On the part of the MPP supporters or the persons whom you sampled who say they normally vote for the MPP, of the respondents say they support her removal. And did that also cut across some of the regions we know are the stronghold for the NDC?
I mean, yes, it does. If you look at the regions, Western North is 82%, Volta 76%, Greater Accra 58%, OT 70%, Savannah 66%. Now, interestingly, even in the Ashanti region, 37% support, 32% oppose. So majority of by almost 5%. So there are more people in Ashanti region who want to remove as a Chief Justice.
That's Musa Dankwa, Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, giving me some details and a breakdown of the latest poll that is just published not too long ago, conducted by him and his team, revealing that majority of Ghanaians are in favor of Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Saki Tukono's removal. And according to the findings, 52% of the voters support a removal, while only 20% oppose it. But away from issues regarding this particular petition, let's go into mining right now, because this week government announced it has rejected Goldfields' application to renew its lease for the Damang mine, opting instead to take full operational control of the asset. The decision, which takes effect tomorrow, Friday, April 18, comes amid a growing nationalistic push to maximize local benefits from Ghana's mineral resources. However, the move has raised critical questions about transparency, governance, and the state's capacity to manage a complex mining operation. The Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources has cited multiple reasons for rejecting Goldfields' renewal bid, including failure to declare verifiable gold reserves, lack of clear technical mining program, and a lack of exploration investment in the past 2 years, raising doubts about the long-term viability. Now, the government has assured a smooth transition, pledging to 1, protect jobs for the of 1,500 workers, honor existing contracts, prioritize local hiring and procurement. Let's take a listen to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofeboa, earlier today.
Employee at that man will lose his job. There will be continuity, there will be protection, there will be security for all workers, for service contractors. Every contract in place will be honored, and we are going to make sure that processes will be very transparent. The government of Ghana, as you know, passed the local content law, and was the people of Ghana who were at the forefront of this effort to empower Ghanaians and to make sure that Ghanaians are in the forefront of the mining industry. That is what is going to guide this process.
Well, some residents of the Damang site have welcomed government's decision. However, they say the state must find an investor to take over the mine.
In fact, when you go around and see what is going on in the catchment areas, very, very pathetic. So we ask the government that it should have proper agreements with either the new company or Goldfields. It should have proper agreements with them to favor the community and Ghana as a whole.
Ejuma papa bie ni wo Goldfields omo de maye. O shoye je anu mo mbe ma ye birthdays ye papa no. Se nye ball ejuma enye brabedo one bi le ejuma papa ye wo ho. Inti Goldfields there. What we can tell the government is we don't know the actual company coming, and we don't want to encounter such challenges again. Whatever the community will say, I think the government will also abide by it, and then there will be judge, and we all come into consensus. If new company is coming, 1, potable drinking water and good roads, good drainage system, and then employment. Matter, you cannot employ all the top hierarchy from elsewhere. You have to consider the communities.
Well, that's the Damang youth there. However, analysts question whether the state has the technical and financial capacity to sustain operations, especially given Goldfields' own assessment that Damang's remaining reserves may not justify continued mining. And Imani Vice President also made some submissions on this matter, and we'll run through it shortly. But the Ghana Mine Workers Union, if you recall, is also calling for a joint venture between the government and Goldfields for the Damang mine rather than a full government takeover. According to the union, the state may lack the capacity and the capital needed to properly invest in the mine, potentially hindering its growth and expansion. General Secretary Abdul Momin Bana made this remarks. Is just joining me right now. Abdul, now listening to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, still not convinced that government has
a restructuring program with all its concomitant effects. And so we think that for government and for that matter the state to venture into mining raises quite a number of questions. And so we are of the opinion that, look, there's opportunity to leverage Goldfields' current position and for that matter Goldfields' current strength. I mean, Goldfields has huge access to the capital markets around the world, and we believe that an opportunity to collaborate with Goldfields to drive the Damang business will inure much more to the benefit of Ghana. But if we want to go solo and turn around that mine, I can assure you that in the next couple of years, we may not be able to change the narrative from where we currently find ourselves.
So you are proposing a joint venture. In what form should that joint venture come?
Well, like I'm saying, Goldfields is a major player in the mining industry. Goldfields has indicated its preparedness to continue to work in Damang. And so there's an opportunity there. The question of whether Goldfields should solely run the Damang mine is a question that ought to be answered between the state and Goldfields. And that's why I'm saying there's an opportunity for Goldfields to sit with the government of Ghana and have an arrangement where Ghana's participation and control is more enhanced relative to what we have it now. And I think when we talk about value creation and, for that matter, getting the best out of mining, it's not always about taking over the mines and running them by yourself. That in itself doesn't guarantee, optimal returns from mining. What is important is for you to have some good control in terms of investment so that you can create the needed value down the entire value chain so that it benefits your economy overall. And so there's an opportunity to sit with Goldfields and say that, look, contrary to the existing 90-10, we think that we want to have a lot more participation. If you want to put in equity, why not? If the state wants to put in equity, that is entirely the decision of the state. If the state is also backing some Ghanaian entrepreneurs in the industry who have the clout and who have the experience when it comes to mining, that obviously is another route to go. In which case, the government, or for that matter, the state, will back these entrepreneurs, to increase their equity in the Goldfields business, so that over time we can create the needed value and possibly transition from the current arrangement of a JV maybe into a situation where the local or the Ghanaian entrepreneurs can eventually take over. But I think that there's huge opportunity in working with Goldfields to chart that course.
Right. And Bemboachi is also on it. And in fact, there's a statement from the Africa Center for Energy Policy on this one. You can find on 3news.com. Mr. Bachi, you've been listening to Abdul Momin Bana, who is the General Secretary of the Ghana Mine Workers Union. They are proposing a joint venture between the government and the Goldfields for this Daman mine. You are saying that no, government should just halt the takeover of the gold mine. Why is that?
No, I think we're not making a different position, and I appreciate his point about, government understanding the dynamics around mining. It's not only salivating when you see a stockpile that you think you can quickly mine and make some money. It takes some investment and risk to do that. But our position really is on trust, credibility in our relationship with mining companies. In this industry, mining lease renewals, it's not just Ghana, it's almost automatic, right? As long as the company continues to perform, it's part of the bargain, ensure that the benefits are shared equitably between the investment and the ownership of the resource institute. So to that extent, if you want to negotiate your stake, make sure that economically the benefits are shared, there are ways to do it during the renewals. But to go to the extent that a nation will say, I am not renewing your mining lease, it only takes a military government to do those kind of things. You hardly will see a civilian government go through that kind of approach to take over a mine, to the extent that we are now even seeing militarization of the zone of the mine for that takeover to actually happen. We can't just be assuming that once you sell gold bars at $3,000 plus, that's all it takes. It takes a lot of risk of cracking or crushing these rocks, not knowing how much exactly you can get, and bearing that risk as an investor. And that's what we've been working with these mines to do over the years. So we're hoping that these processes will follow the laid down rules and regulations for renewal. But we are disappointed to know that government is playing tricks to actually take up the mine. For whatever reason, we are still looking into it.
Why do you say government is playing?
That was not appropriate.
How do you say government is playing tricks? Especially because the Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources gave clear detail as to why they were rejecting the Goldfields renewal bid. Talking about, for instance, the failure to declare verifiable gold reserves, lack of clear technical mining program, lack of exploration investment in the past 2 years, raising doubts about the long-term viability. So that those are not cogent reasons?
If those were, then it tells you that the Minerals Commission has been incompetent at its job, really, because you cannot mine or stop mining without getting permission from the Minerals Commission. Even if you want to suspend operation for months up to a year, you need permission from the Minerals Commission to do that. And at all times, companies comply with those kind of requirements and ensure that you get all the relevant permissions. So our engagement with the mining company and other stakeholders actually indicates that when the company decided to mine stockpile, whilst it assesses the resources in the lease, the Minerals Commission was duly informed and spent the money to mine, not knowing what you can actually get from it. But when you have people taking the risk, measure that risk and compensate them for it, and also take your share as a country. And that's how we have lived, to the extent that this time, Ghana is making close to $1.2 billion on the raw fiscal take. When I say the raw fiscal take, I mean what you are getting from taxes and royalties. It doesn't include how much we are getting from payee, how much we are getting from other service contractors who are buying supplies, paying VAT. All of that comes from the output of the mine. If we don't have the mine, all those purchases for which people are paying up to 21% VAT that is going into the Ministry of Finance account or the Consolidated Fund, it won't happen. So let's not oversimplify the mining operations and its benefits, and to think that the government has to go in there to mine before we see benefits from the sector.
Right.
And that is always the miscalculation and assumptions that government use to inform their interpretation of benefits from the mine, and we go into problems when we do. And we have a history of how we messed up in the 70s and early 80s, trying to nationalize these mineral assets, only to collapse the mining industry and turn around to get investors to come back to generate the benefits for us.
Right. Ben, I appreciate your time on this, and I know this is a conversation we're going to continue beyond this point, so thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Also, to you, Abdul Mumin Bana, thank you so much for joining us as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the General Secretary of the Ghana Mine Workers Union, Abdul Mumin Bana. Also, ASEP boss, Ben Boachi. You just heard him. We're going to go for this quick break. When we're back, we'll settle for the business news. Michael Obudu is standing by.
I wake up early every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah!
You are at the center of our universe. That's why we make it a duty to serve you only the freshest, hottest news and entertainment. When you want it, where you want it.
Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7 with me, Johnny Hughes, Helena Biambofo. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition with me, Michael Obudu. Coming up, Ghana's $600 million iron ore project to create 5,000 jobs while cutting billions in exports. Details coming up shortly. Please don't go anywhere. Now straight into our top story, as the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation (GISDEC) says its planned iron ore mining project is expected to create more than 5,000 jobs once operational. The $600 million initiative, set to begin this year, is being undertaken by a local company. It forms part of broader efforts to reduce the country's heavy reliance on imported iron, which currently costs Ghana nearly $1 billion annually. William Okofu Date is the chief executive of the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation.
when that project comes, it's going to benefit Ghanaians more. And I can tell you, if we are able to get this project through, it will be a game changer, because this is one plant that can employ more than 5,000 people, that can give them a very good, wages as compared to other sectors. Even if you want to compare it to the small plant like B5 we have here, they are engaging about 5,000 direct workers and over 11,000 indirect workers. This is just one small plant that is only using the scrap metals to produce, and some small, or if you like, few imported stuff to do the roofing sheets and all that. But here is the case: we are going to mine, process, and also get to the downstream where people can use the finished products in the country, and we even export some.
So that was Chief Executive of the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation, William Okofu Date. Now, in a bid to boost local production, local participation in the country's oil and gas industry, the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company Limited board says it will prioritize dealing with indigenous companies as it rolls out a major infrastructure expansion program in the downstream petroleum sector. Speaking on the sidelines of the Accra investor briefing held under the Invest in Africa Energy Roadshow, board's technical advisor Nana Amoisi II said the expansion includes series of upgrades aimed at replacing aging infrastructure and positioning Ghana as a key petroleum logistics hub for the region.
Small and medium scale enterprises must be given room, and Ghanaian companies are given opportunity to also have a bite of every investment that we have in the petroleum downstream and also upstream. And so some of the jobs are clearly dedicated to local companies. For instance, the laying of the pipeline, the 12-inch pipeline from Tema to Akosombo, will be dedicated solely to a Ghanaian company. A pigging of the line or intelligent testing of these lines will be dedicated partly to a Ghanaian company and a foreign company. And major projects, including the barge fleet that we want to double. Even though it's a Water Lake Transportation Company that does the movement of these barges, Boss owns some of the barges and want to buy more, and is ready to partner with private companies to also buy or procure these barges and operate. And so there's a room for Ghanaian companies to be part of Boss.
So here the Nana Amoisi II, he is the technical advisor for BOST. The director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ECE, Professor Peter Quartey, is calling on government to intensify monitoring and evaluation across all public projects to curb wasteful expenditure. He argued that strengthening project oversight mechanisms would help close loopholes, protect public interest, and boost efficiency in the use of scarce resources. Professor Quartey made the remarks during the launch of the Youth Evaluators Community of Practice, an ECE initiative aimed at grooming the next generation of policy evaluators.
If you look at a lot of government programs, we don't monitor enough, we don't evaluate. The idea of this is to get young people to get into the evaluation business. We are equipping them, but they are the future generations. We are equipping them for evaluation, we are equipping them for all the activities that they require. And this also provides a job opportunity for them, because once they become certified, any job outlet or avenue, we can recommend them, or they themselves can apply and get jobs. It's also good for the nation, because as a country, we need to be evaluating programs so that we see where there are gaps, so we quickly fill the gap. We don't wait till the end and realize it has failed. And when it's successful, we replicate or even scale it up.
Professor Peter Quartey is director of ECE. Now, chairperson of the Ghana Poultry Day Festival 2025 Planning Committee, Dr. Comfort Champong, has called for strong national support for the local poultry industry, citing high feed costs and unfair competition from the imported frozen chicken as barriers for farmers. She made the call at the announcement of the Ghana Poultry Day Festival set for July 1 in Accra.
Poultry farmers in the country have a lot of challenges. And I would say that the main challenge is the cost of production, the feed cost. We are competing with consumption of maize in the country as a dry feed space. And the chicken, 70% of the feed they produce is maize, and other things are added to it. So that is why we cannot compete with these frozen chicken that are coming into the country.
So that was Chairperson of the Ghana Poultry Day Festival 2025 Planning Committee, Dr. Comfort Echampo. Meanwhile, with Ghana importing over 600,000 chickens daily, Executive Director of Agri-House Foundation, Alberta, Nana Echa Akosa, said this year's festival aimed to scale its impact by enhancing collaboration between government, private sector, and community actors.
The whole idea was how do we draw attention to the poultry sector, and how do we basically ensure that the discussion around crops is the same as livestock or poultry, because when we talk about the sector, normally we leave the poultry or livestock out. So just ensure that both industries are in tandem receiving equal attention. So we started driving it through participation of influencers, leaders within the communities. We bring our farmers together. They provide us with the poultry or the birds. We give it to leaders like you rightly saw, and then they would look for us for everybody to come together for free.
So that was Alberta Nana Echa Akosa. She is the Executive Director of Agri-House Foundation, bringing an end to the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please visit our website as 3news.com/business. My name is Michael Obodu. Up next is sports.
Every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah!
You are at the center of our universe. That's why we make it a duty to serve you only the freshest, hottest news and entertainment. When you want it, where you want it.
Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7 with me, Johnny Hughes, Helena Piambofo. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Oreku Ampofo. Let's start from the Ghana Premier League, where outstanding games from match day 22 were played on Wednesday across various match centres. Asante Kotoko were the pick of the bunch after losing by 3-0 to Accra Lions, whilst Gold Stars beat Beche United to move top of the Ghana Premier League table. My colleague Mutalai Yakubu speaks on the different perspectives from the match day.
So match day 22 of the Ghana Premier League were played across all venues yesterday, and the biggest result we had was at the Accra Sports Stadium, where struggling Accra Lions condemned Asante Kotoko to a 3-0 defeat. Surprisingly, Accra Lions scored 2 goals in the first half and added a third. Asante Kotoko could not cope with the pace of the Lions boys, and their head coach Prosper Nate-Ogum after the game talked about the fact that they didn't set up well, and that affected them. Accra Atufok also traveled to the Nana Ajima Abedu Park in Doma, and Aduana beat them by 2 goals to 0. Atufok have always found it difficult at the Nana Ajima Abedu Park against Aduana. The biggest winners of the night were Babieni Gold Stars, who went on top of the league after a 2-0 victory against Bechem United at the Nana Fosu Giabo Park. This was Bechem United's first defeat at home in the league this season, and they considered their first goal at home as well this season. Other interesting results also saw Baseke Holy Stars win their game against Vision FC, and we also had Heart of Lions beating Mediema by a goal to 0. So the GPO is getting interesting as we look forward to match day 28.
Well, that was my colleague Mutala speaking on the Ghana Premier League. We still stay within the league because Prosper Nate-Ogum, who's the head coach for Asante Kotoko, has expressed his displeasure with unfair criticism from fans. Ogum's comments comes after Kotoko suffered their heaviest defeat of the season to relegation-threatened Accra Lions, a result which means that the Porcupine Warriors are now winless in their last 3 games.
For me, I'm able to manage anything that comes my way as a coach. I'm a mentally tough person. I know the nature of the professional man themselves. Such commentaries will come. I have to stay focused. For the players, individual differences. So some may be able to contain it, some may not be able to contain it, and it will affect performance. But then, as you rightly said, a team that is at the summit of the table, it draws or it loses some vital points actually, and then suddenly from nowhere, negative commentaries or pleasant commentaries begin to come in and around the team. Things that, I mean, when you track them, they are not true. Are all being said about the players, about the coach, especially when you do some of these things. It affects, I mean, the emotional state of the player and the technical staff. So, I mean, we just have to. As I said, for me, I can manage certain things. But what about the players? If they are able to manage, you get performances like this. In front of you, they will behave like, oh, coach, we are fine. We can work. And then they come and then they make the first error. And then the booing and the booting start again. And then they remember what is already out there for them. And then it affects.
So that was Prosper Nate-Ogum, who's the head coach of Asante Kotoko speaking. Let's do some more because Asamoah Gyan, who is Ghana's all-time top scorer, has emphasized the importance of putting on the Black Stars jersey. Gyan, who scored 51 goals for the national team, represented Ghana across 3 World Cups and made his mark while speaking on New Day Sports earlier on TV3.
Yeah, because personally, when I'm in the Ghana shirt, although people see me as the jovial type, you know, the Jama and everything, but when we get to the field, I come as I'm a beast. You know, I just try and give everything, and then when the national team is being played, you know, that is where, you know, you are representing a nation, a football nation. You know, because Ghana is a football nation, whether people can dispute it or not. It's a football nation, and if you have the opportunity to wear the shirt, you know, it's a privilege because there are a lot of great players out there.
So that was Asamoah speaking. To Europe, where Europa League games will be taking place later tonight. Frankfurt take on Tottenham Hotspur, whilst Athletic Club are home against Rangers after a 0-0 first leg. Lazio also take on Bodo Glimt and have a huge mountain to climb, while Manchester United will be looking to build on their 2-2 away draw when they host Lyon at Old Trafford. Ahead of the game, head coach of the Red Devils, Ruben Amorim, has provided an update on his team selection. United drew 2-2 against Lyon after Andre Onana committed 2 costly errors, and Amorim says that Onana will be included in tonight's squad.
No, I just think, first of all, as a coach and also as a former player, I'll try to do things that can help a player in this situation. So sometimes we talk about managing players physically. We have to manage them also mentally, but then they have to return to competition, and Onana is ready. He had one weekend that I felt that was better for him to not play, and a good thing for and this week my thinking was to put Onana to play.
And so that was head coach of Manchester United, Ruben Amorim, speaking on the potential inclusion of Onana, and we can confirm, because the lineups have been released, that Andre Onana is in the starting 11 for Manchester United. He returns after that brief break in at the 4-1 defeat against Newcastle. But finally, before we go, Liverpool defender Virgil van Dijk has extended his contract with the Reds until 2027. The skipper, who joined Liverpool from Southampton in 2017, is among the Reds' most experienced players and has played a key role in their hunt for the Premier League title this season. Reacting to his contract extension, Merseyside rivals manager David Moyes says that it is a bad signing for the rest of the league. Let's hear from David Moyes.
Looks a bad signing for me, if you ask me. Can't see how that player is going to work at all. So
maybe a rhetorical question.
So no, can't see how that's going to work at all, to be honest.
You'll be up against it next season.
We certainly will, and he's been a terrific player for Celtic, and he's certainly been a terrific player for Liverpool.
That was David Moyes bringing an end to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. You can get updates of the upcoming Europa League and Conference League games on our social media handles at 3SportsGH. My name is Ore Kwampofo.
What is your favorite scripture?
Well, my favorite scripture is Romans 8:28, and it says, all things work together for the good to them that love the Lord. Kwame, that is absolutely my favorite scripture.
Yes, your inspirational gospel mix, a moment to get inspired with the best of inspirational songs and interviews to get you prepared for the new week. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. with me, your big brother, Kwame Adu, mixing G, mixing gospel. You can't miss it. You are blessed as you listen. 3FM 92.7.
I wake up early every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah!
You are at the center of our universe. That's why we make it a duty to serve you only the freshest, hottest news and entertainment. When you want it, where you want it.
Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7 with me, Johnny Hughes, Helena Piampofo. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
Welcome back. You're still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesme 107.1 and on W93.5 in YMB. President John Dramani Mahama has invited the military leaders of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger to attend the official launch of ECOWAS's 50th anniversary celebrations in Accra. Speaking at a press briefing on Thursday, April 17, 2025, Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa described the invitation as a step towards reconciliation and stronger collaboration in the West African sub-region. Ghana will host the landmark event on April 22, 2025 at the Accra International Conference Center, commemorating the founding of the Economic Community of West African States on May 28, 1975. The choice of Ghana as a host underscores the nation's long-standing leadership in Pan-Africanism, regional integration and diplomacy. Key attendees will include Bola Ahmed Tinubu, chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and President of Nigeria, the President of ECOWAS Commission, heads of state and government from the member nations, representatives of regional and international partner organizations. President Mahama will officially host the ceremony. Let's take a listen to Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, the Foreign Affairs Minister, earlier today.
The three member states, as we all know, have since formed the AES, which is the Alliance of Sahelian States. While this is a challenge for regional cohesion, ECOWAS, in response, must reinforce diplomacy, enhance security, and remain resolute in its vision of a united and prosperous West Africa. It is fair to say that this has been the philosophy underpinning President Mahama's recent shuttle diplomacy and pragmatic approach in addressing the AES challenge, which, as you all know, has been hailed by his peers and many other observers. As we mark 50 years of ECOWAS, it is imperative that we seize this moment to chart a bold and ambitious course for the next 50 years. The ECOWAS at 50th anniversary is not merely a ceremonial event. It is a strategic opportunity to celebrate our achievements in fostering regional stability, economic growth, and cultural exchange, strengthen solidarity among member states amidst evolving geopolitical dynamics, enhance public awareness of ECOWAS's role in peacekeeping, trade, and development, advance inclusive dialogue on the future of regional integration, rekindle hope and belief in the ECOWAS vision, particularly amongst the youth of our sub-region, and showcase Ghana's leadership in driving the ECOWAS agenda forward.
That's Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, the Foreign Affairs Minister there. Yes. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your time. As more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 today for Ghana Tonight. My name is Alfred Akrofi Ocansey. The drive continues. Do have a great evening.